I never much cared for laundromats. Even as a kid, I found the humming machines unsettling. Their relentless, cyclical groan, the way the glass doors gleamed like wide, unblinking eyes. But sometimes, when the pile of dirty clothes in my apartment swelled past what my little washer could handle, I'd drag the bulging bags to the 24-hour place a few blocks from my street. It was always empty at night, which I preferred. No one to make awkward small talk, no one to watch me fold my threadbare socks. This particular Thursday, I left my apartment just after 11. The city was settling into its nocturnal hush, streetlights haloed by mist, sidewalks shining from a late rain. The laundromat glowed against the darkness, a squat building with a faded sign, Spin City, EST, 1970 for a war. The N flickered off and on, so it sometimes read SPI City, as if inviting only the reckless. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of detergent and something else. Something sharp and metallic, like the tang of old coins. The overhead fluorescents buzzed, casting a bruised blue pallor over the linoleum floor. I was the only one there, save for the blinking red dot of the security camera above the door. Routine set in. Sort whites from colors, shove them into separate machines, feed in bills and quarters. My hands moved on autopilot, muscle memory guiding me through the motions. As I poured detergent into the slot, I noticed that the machines on the far left were cordoned off with yellow tape. Out of order. The tape looked old, curling at the edges, as if no one had bothered to fix those washers for months. For some reason, I kept glancing over, drawn by the silence pooling in that corner. I settled onto a molded plastic seat, phone in hand, scrolling through news headlines. The lull of tumbling clothes and the low, distant rumble of traffic outside should have been comforting. But the quiet felt heavy, pressing in on my ears. Every so often, a subtle creak echoed from the rear of the laundromat. Pipes settling, I told myself. Or maybe the walls expanding as the temperature dropped. I tried to ignore it, but with each cycle, the noise seemed to grow. A slow, methodical shifting, as if the building itself was breathing. About 20 minutes in, I stood to stretch my legs. My phone's battery was low, the screen's glow winking out. With nothing to anchor me, I wandered the aisles, peering into the opaque, sudsy windows of the machines. My own reflection stared back at me, distorted by the spinning glass. I stifled a laugh at how gaunt I looked, how tired. I ventured a little further, toward the out-of-order machines. The yellow tape had been wound loosely. It fluttered in the draft from a nearby vent. There was a grimy, handwritten sign taped to the wall. Do not use, repairs scheduled. Below it, a phone number had been scrawled and then crossed out. I idly fingered the tape, feeling its brittle edges. I didn't plan to open the washers, just a glance. But in that moment, curiosity gnawed at me. One of the machines, number 13, the metal digits half pried from the front, had its door slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness visible through the gap. I reached out almost without thinking and pulled the door open. It swung wide with a groan, hinges protesting. The inside was dry, but the drum was caked with a thin, reddish-brown residue, as if someone had tried to scrub it clean but given up. The smell hit me a second later, a sickly sweet odor, cloying and thick, overlaid with the coppery tang I'd noticed earlier. I flinched back, wrinkling my nose. That's when I heard it, the faintest of whispers, a sound so soft I almost missed it. It came from deep within the drum, as if the machine itself was exhaling. I froze, heart thudding, ears straining. Silence. Just the low hum of the other washers. I closed the door, shivering, and returned to my seat. I tried to brush away the unease, blaming my imagination and the hour. I remembered stories my grandmother used to tell about spirits that lingered in forgotten places, clinging to objects left behind. Nonsense, I thought. I pressed my hands to my knees, grounding myself in the familiar. Yet, the air felt different now. Colder somehow, and heavy with that metallic scent. The lights above the out-of-order machines flickered, then steadied, then flickered again in a stuttering rhythm that seemed almost deliberate. I glanced at my phone. Dead. The machines had another 15 minutes to go. I considered leaving, going outside for a breath of air, but the thought of stepping into the empty street was somehow worse than staying. I tried to focus on the rhythm of the washers, the way the sound rose and fell, but now, beneath it, I could make out something else. A faint, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails drumming on metal. The tapping grew louder, resolving into a pattern, a slow, steady beat, then a staccato burst, then silence. I stared at the out-of-order machines, willing myself not to look, but unable to help it. The tape fluttered again, though the vent had stopped blowing. Shadows pooled beneath machine 13, darker than seemed possible, as if the light itself bent away from it. I told myself it was just a trick of the eyes, fatigue playing games. But then the glass in the washer's door began to fog over, as though something inside was breathing hot, damp air against it. I watched, rooted in place, as the fog swirled and then slowly, a shape pressed against the glass, a vague mottled outline, as if a hand was reaching out from the other side. I blinked. The shape vanished. The fog cleared, leaving only my own pallid reflection. I forced myself to stand, muscles trembling. I needed to finish my laundry and leave. I strode to my machines, yanking open the dryer and tossing my clothes inside with shaking hands. As I did, I heard the whisper again, louder this time, laced with a wet, guttural rasp. My name. It wasn't possible. I spun around, searching for another customer, but the laundromat was empty. The security camera's red dot watched me, impassive. I tried to rationalize. Maybe it was the wind or a memory bubbling up from old stories. I jammed quarters into the dryer, hands fumbling, desperate to keep moving. The dryer started with a metallic clank, louder than usual, echoing down the aisles. Then the lights dimmed, not all at once, but in a slow, crawling wave, starting from the rear and moving toward the front. Shadows lengthened, stretching across the floor like grasping fingers. The hum of the machines became distorted, a low, droning moan, as if the building itself was groaning in pain. I backed toward the entrance, but the automatic doors had gone dark, no longer responding to my presence. I tried the handle. Locked. I banged on the glass, calling out, but my voice was swallowed by the thick, suffocating silence. In the darkness, the tapping resumed, closer now, coming from all directions. I pressed myself against the door, heart hammering, as the shadows gathered around machine 13. The fog returned, spreading outward in pulsing waves, swallowing the yellow tape, the grimy sign, everything. I could see shapes moving inside it, twisted, elongated figures that shifted and writhed, always just out of focus. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing it all to go away. When I opened them, my laundry was done. The lights had returned to their harsh, fluorescent glare. The out-of-order machine stood silent and still, the tape unmoved. My phone buzzed to life in my pocket, screen glowing with missed notifications. I gathered my clothes, fingers numb, and bolted for the door. This time, it slid open with a cheerful chime. I stumbled into the night, gulping the cool, damp air. Behind me, the laundromat glowed empty and unremarkable, as if nothing had happened at all. But as I hurried home, I could still smell that thick, metallic tang on my clothes, feel the weight of invisible eyes tracking my every step. That night and every night since, I've heard the faint, rhythmic tapping in my apartment, on the pipes, on the window panes, inside the closet doors. Sometimes I find fog on my bathroom mirror, and sometimes, when the night is quiet and the fog is thick, I catch a glimpse of my own reflection in the window, but it stands a little too still, smiling with a mouth that isn't quite mine.